These are 5 times when Lewis Hamilton completely destroyed his opponents. And number 1 is going to be the craziest because at that time, Hamilton took on a reigning world champion and even left him humiliated. But let's start with number 5. This was a race where Hamilton didn't just win, he defied logic. As he was heading on the final lap, disaster struck. His front left tire completely gave out, yet he still had almost half a lap to go. Behind him, Max Verstappen was closing in fast. Anyone else in this situation would have pulled over or lost the race entirely, but this was Lewis Hamilton. He pushed his Mercedes to the absolute limit, balancing on 3 wheels as he made his way to the finish line. The tension was unbearable. Verstappen was getting closer with every second, but Hamilton refused to let the win slip away. Somehow, against all odds, he managed to cross the line first. Even with a broken car, he was still unbeatable. And this wasn't the first time Hamilton pulled off something extraordinary. In 2008 at the British Grand Prix, he gave one of the greatest wet weather performances of all time. The race started under heavy rain, turning Silverstone into a nightmare for the drivers. Cars were sliding off the track, struggling just to stay in control. It was so bad that some drivers were even asking for a safety car. But while others were struggling, Hamilton was thriving. He handled the wet conditions like a master, overtaking his rivals one by one. While others fought to survive, he made it look easy. By the time he finished, he had lapped every single driver on the grid except 2. It wasn't just a win, it was pure dominance. And if that wasn't enough, he finished a full minute ahead of the second place driver. A whole minute! That kind of gap is almost unheard of in Formula 1. But no race showed Hamilton's true greatness like the 2021 Sao Paulo Grand Prix. This was a race that had everything a Formula 1 fan needs. Drama, controversy, and one of the greatest comebacks ever seen in F1. The championship battle between Hamilton and Verstappen was reaching its peak. With only 3 races left, Hamilton was trailing Verstappen by 19 points. If he had any hope of winning the championship, he needed to win this race. He started the weekend in the best way possible, securing pole position with a stunning lap. He was a full half-second ahead of Verstappen, which in F1 terms is a massive gap. Things were looking good for Hamilton, but then disaster struck. His car was found to have a technical issue with the rear wing, and he was disqualified from qualifying. That meant he had to start from the very back of the grid for the sprint race. Starting from P20, he had to fight his way through the field just to have a chance in the Grand Prix. The odds were stacked against him. Betting markets had Verstappen as the clear favorite, with Hamilton's chances looking slim. But if there's one thing we know about Lewis Hamilton, it's that he never gives up. Right from the start, he was on a mission. He sliced through the field with incredible precision, overtaking car after car. It didn't matter who was in front of him, he made them look slow. By the time the sprint race ended, he had moved up to P5. And because of another penalty, he had to start the main race from P10. Even then, he still had one goal. From the moment the race began, he continued his charge forward. He picked off drivers one by one, climbing through the ranks at an unbelievable pace. Eventually, only one man stood in his way, Max Verstappen. This was the battle everyone wanted to see, the 2 best drivers in the world going head-to-head with everything on the line. Verstappen did everything he could to defend, and at one point, he even forced Hamilton off the track. But Hamilton stayed patient, waiting for his moment. And then it came. He faked a move to the outside, baiting Verstappen into covering that line. That gave Hamilton a better exit, and with that, he was gone. He had just pulled off one of the cleanest overtakes against one of the hardest drivers to pass. From last place to first, with all the odds against him, Hamilton had done the impossible. Even he admitted that this was one of the most special races of his career. It was the kind of performance that reminded everyone why he's a 7-time world champion. But Hamilton's brilliance isn't just about big comebacks, he also has a way of making his rivals look foolish. One of the most underrated examples of this was his move against Carlos Sainz. On the final lap of a race, Hamilton was chasing Sainz down. Just when it seemed like he wouldn't be able to pass, he pulled off a brilliant dummy move into the corner. Sainz took the bait, and Hamilton slipped past him effortlessly. He didn't just take the position, he practically took Sainz's Ferrari seat in the process. There have also been times when Hamilton's dominance was so overwhelming that it left his rivals embarrassed. One of the most famous examples came in 2015 when he was up against his teammate Nico Rosberg. During the US Grand Prix, Rosberg was leading, but Hamilton kept the pressure on. In the final moments of the race, Rosberg made a mistake and ran wide, allowing Hamilton to take the lead. Rosberg was so frustrated that he threw his second-place cap at Hamilton in the cool-down room. That was the moment many believe Rosberg realized he couldn't beat Hamilton fairly. The following year, Rosberg won the championship but retired immediately after. It was as if he knew he wouldn't be able to beat Hamilton again. Another moment that showed Hamilton's sheer brilliance was at the 2018 German Grand Prix. He started in P14 due to a mechanical failure in qualifying. Winning from that position seemed nearly impossible. But once again, Hamilton showed why he's in a league of his own. He stormed through the field, overtaking driver after driver. Then when race leader Sebastian Vettel crashed out under pressure, Hamilton took the lead and never looked back. He went from P14 to P1, securing one of the most incredible wins of his career. It was a perfect example of why you can never count him out, no matter where he starts. Out of all the incredible moments in Formula 1, one of the most humiliating happened at the 2007 Hungarian Grand Prix. This wasn't just a race, it was the boiling point of one of the most intense rivalries in F1 history. Lewis Hamilton was just a rookie, but he was already challenging his teammate, two-time world champion Fernando Alonso. At the time, Alonso had won the last two championships. He was considered one of the best drivers in the world. And then came Hamilton, who was a newcomer in his very first season. Normally, rookies take time to adjust, but not Hamilton. Right from the start, he was matching Alonso. The two were winning races, fighting for pole positions, and by the time they arrived in Hungary, they were tied in the championship standings. This was not what Alonso had expected. He had joined McLaren thinking he would be the clear number one driver, but instead, he had a rookie teammate who was not just keeping up, but beating him. The pressure was building, and by the time they reached Hungary, things exploded. The drama began during qualifying. In F1, qualifying is a battle for the best starting position, and for teammates, it is also a battle for pride. Everyone wants to out-qualify their teammate, and here, it was incredibly close. Hamilton was ahead of Alonso sitting in P1, but both of them had time for just one more lap. They came into the pit lane for fresh tires, and that's when Alonso pulled off a move that shocked everyone. He allegedly delayed his stop, staying in the pit stop box just long enough to hold Hamilton up. This meant that by the time Hamilton got back onto the track, he had run out of time to do a final flying lap. Alonso, on the other hand, managed to complete his lap and took pole position. It was a controversial move. Everybody was furious. McLaren was in chaos. Alonso had just blocked his own teammate in a race where they were both fighting for the championship. Hamilton was visibly angry. He knew he had been robbed of a chance to fight for pole. But as always, Hamilton does not let setbacks hold him down. If Alonso thought this move would break Hamilton, he was wrong. Because on race day, Hamilton got his revenge in the best way possible. The moment the race started, Hamilton took control. He drove flawlessly, leading from the front and never looking back. But Alonso, on the other hand, struggled. And then to make things worse for Alonso, the stewards investigated his qualifying move, which resulted in a penalty. Alonso was dropped to P4 while Hamilton cruised to victory. It was a brutal defeat for Alonso. He had tried to play mind games, but instead, he had embarrassed himself. Hamilton, the rookie, had just beaten the champion in one of the most high-pressure races of the season, and it didn't stop there. By the end of the season, Hamilton finished ahead of Alonso in the championship standings. A rookie had just outscored a two-time world champion in his very first year. This was something no one expected, especially Alonso. There are so many moments where Hamilton has humiliated his opponents that it's impossible to list them all. And the fact that he's still not done yet can be a nightmare for some drivers. So what are your thoughts on the 7-time champion? Make sure to write them down right now. And while you're down there, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well.